Hello everyone, my name is Beansprout, and if you're a fan of 90s style FPS games, then you're no doubt familiar with the studio id Software, and their library of awesome games. id is an old studio, and they've released a fair amount of games, but a few of the games that they've created haven't really gotten the attention that they really deserve. I feel I've already made my love for games such as Doom 3 quite clear on this channel. However, there is another id Software game from another of their franchises which I feel is the second most underrated game that they've ever created, and it should get way more love and attention from the community than it gets now. But what is this game? Well, it starts with a Q, it's number 2, and it's most likely overlooked by all of you. Huh, wait, I'm actually like Eminem. But yeah, that's right, it's Quake 2. No, I might as well give up on YouTube. I should go become a rapper or something. But yeah, before we talk about Quake 2, I would really appreciate it if you guys gave this video a like, and maybe perhaps subscribe to the channel. This both helps support the channel a great deal, and may even spread the video out to more people who haven't yet played Quake 2, and need that extra push to convince them. But yeah, thanks. Now let's get back to the video. Upon its release on the 9th of December in 1997, Quake 2 was actually really well received by the fans and critics alike. The game quickly became the most popular online game during the whole year of 1998, and sold over 1 million copies, which for a game back then is a huge number. The game also had 2 single player expansions released too, with Quake 2 Mission Pack The Reckoning releasing on the 27th of May 1998, and being developed by... how do you pronounce that? Xatrix Entertainment? I don't know how you pronounce that. The second expansion for Quake 2 was released in the same year, but yeah, the expansion was called Ground Zero and it was developed by Rogue Entertainment. Finally, a word that I can pronounce, unlike the last company. But let's talk more about the view that people have on the game in the modern day, because it seems almost as if many people have either never played the game, or have and dislike it because it's so different to the original Quake. Whilst it kept many of the gameplay elements that can be seen in the first Quake, the game had an almost completely different setting, atmosphere, and overall vibe to it. To the point where when id Software wanted Trent Reznor, the lead singer of the work of art that is known as 9 Inch Nails, to come back and record the soundtrack for Quake 2 after creating the music in the first game, he refused, stating that the game had no atmosphere. However, Trent Reznor in fact does get a pass for having this extremely horrible take because his music is amazing. But yeah, the more recent views of people who disliked Quake 2, for the most part just boils down to the fact that it isn't too similar to Quake 1, and that kinda sucks in my opinion, because Quake 2 is genuinely a really good game, and I'm gonna tell you why. But first, how did I make this discovery? And why am I talking about Quake 2? I'd played Quake 2 every now and then in the past, but I never really got that far into the game, and I always put the game down after maybe half an hour or an hour or so. I didn't actually put that much time into the game until recently, where I was recording footage for a couple of my other Quake videos, and found myself having a lot of fun during that recording process, which then led me to play more of the game and experience quite a bit more of what Quake 2 had to offer. I spent quite a while playing through the game, exploring new levels, picking up different weapons, and fighting the game's interesting cast of enemies. The little play sessions I had previously on Quake 2 never really gave me that much of the Quake 2 experience, and it was a game that I generally was quite unfamiliar with. The reason I'm making this video is to talk about why Quake 2 is so fun, and also why I think it might be worth a lot of people's time to go and check out Quake 2, and give the game a decent amount of time before making any real judgments on it. But why exactly is the game so good, I hear you asking? I don't want to go play a game without knowing why it's good. Like what, Beansprout, do you think I'm a normal person? Well, shh, I'll tell you why. Here's why. Right off the bat, I have to say that Quake 2 is one of the most fun old school FPS games I've ever played. The game feels great to play. It feels smooth and responsive and generally high quality considering that the game was released in 1997, which was during the first couple of years that 3D graphics became mainstream. The movement, to put it lightly, is amazing. It just feels so good to move around the game's world. Of course, more modern games that imitate this style of movement, such as Dusk from 2018, do a far better job of it, due to the huge leap in technology since the 90s. But that shouldn't change the fact that Quake 2 has some of the most fun movement that I've had the pleasure of playing in an FPS game such as this. And it's not just the movement, because the weapons are great as well. I haven't beaten the game, so I can't really give you a full commentary of all the game's guns, but the ones I have used are really fun. I love the designs of all of them, and the dated 90s sound effects really add to the game's character. And despite how old the sound effects for the guns of Quake 2 are, they still feel really impactful and give the player a powerful feeling while using them. My only complaint about the weapons is that the rocket launcher can feel a bit slow compared to the one in the first game. And even that isn't a big deal, because the rocket launcher is still a fun tool in your arsenal to use. The enemies are really cool too. They all have this fleshy machine look, which seems to be a staple of this genre at this point. Quake 2's enemies are called the Strog, and they make for a unique and interesting cast of foes for you to fight throughout the game's single player. The ways enemies can attack you often vary, giving the player new and challenging combat encounters for much of the game. And do you remember when I mentioned that Trent Reznor claimed that Quake 2 had no atmosphere? Well, he's wrong, at least in my opinion, because I believe that Quake 2 has a great atmosphere, created by both the game's dark, grungy and industrial visuals, and the amazing soundtrack that Quake 2 has, which despite not being composed by the Nine Inch Nails frontman, is still near perfection. This time around, the music was created by Sonic Mayhem and a couple others, including Bill Brown, Rob Zombie, and Jer Spult. There we go. But it was mostly made by Sonic Mayhem. The soundtrack of Quake 2 is much like the game itself, dark and grungy, and it adds a great deal to the amount of fun that can be had while playing the game. It's hard to not start subtly headbanging while you play through the game, which that alone should tell you how good the music is. And all of what I just mentioned should hopefully be even better in the Quake 2 remaster that just got leaked. And speaking of that remaster, you're probably curious to know more about that. So if you want to learn more, then you can click on this video appearing on the screen now, right here. But other than that, thank you for watching, and as always, have a nice day.